On Monday, September 29th, 2025, I'm going to do just a quick recap of where I'm at today with some content and then reviewing this tech stack. In particular, we're promoting right now, which Arnie McInnes, my good teammate here, built. Essentially, it is this crazy thing called the NFL calendar demo. And this demo here in particular is running our game data for NFL season. You'll see it live here. I'll make the screen a little bigger. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. You can go check us out at NFL2025.31events.com or go to 31events.com and it's hung off that site. What this is an interactive site full of data. This data basically is running on our calendar invite server we built on AWS. Then Arnie's the front end magician that actually built this Vue.js rig here. It's a full app. It was not a Vive app. It's got well over 1,000 hours of time put into it. It's got some really great content in it on how he built the front end. And this front end is talking to all our APIs essentially at the storage layer on the calendar invite server to build out this GUI itself for the NFL using the game calendaring system. I'm going to put this away. I could talk about it for hours. Let's get into it. So in particular, let's talk about this crazy part, which is to start with, we had an organizer named Mandy. She injected the NFL data off her personal calendar into the calendar invite server. She did this by using a API rigging, if you will. This API rig was essentially a email box to get it off her calendar into the calendar invite server infrastructure. She used a command, create at calendarsnack.com. That's an arbitrary box set up by us. We are the people behind the Calendar Snack engine here, the console you'll see here in the middle. Mandy is the organizer. She injected all 544 games. They were deduped automatically, and then they are put into this display mechanism here in the console. And essentially in the console is where all the part of the app that Arnie built that generates these calendar invite endpoint API codes. Now these codes can be used for web pages, emails, and applications. These codes are essentially the API endpoint. When the endpoint itself is enabled in the codes, it basically marries the UID out of the calendar invite server database and sends a calendar invite out to the email presented in the interface itself. Now, the interface we're talking about here today is rigged up into what Arnie built and has been working on for a couple thousand hours, and that is the ability for someone like me, Greg at techvader.com here on the right, put in his email address, find out the game in a game calendar out of the 250-ish games that are presented here, pick one out in the picker, click one button and get the calendar invite, and then we track all that data. So that's kind of the setup here. This is a linear kind of API pattern for architecture, and then Arnie has how he built the front end using these APIs out of the calendar invite server itself and how we put this whole thing together. Now, what I'm going to show you is the fact that I did send a calendar invite to myself for the 49ers versus the Rams. There it is there. There's the evidence. And then what I'm going to do here is show you how we collect the data. So we collect the data from the page itself in the APIs, present that data, and then when someone like me comes along and puts his email address in, sends out the calendar invite, I get it, and then our API endpoint that is essentially monitoring this at the web layer gathers the calendar receipt itself. So we do that by crafting the calendar receipt correctly, and then our calendar invite API endpoint, requests a calendar receipt from the customer. So downstream, this thing here is being monitored at all times from an attendee standpoint, and this attendee here is me here as the end user. So anytime I change my end user calendar invite itself, that data is collected and sent back to the API gateway for the calendar invite server console, and then it is the analytics here are done in the database. So we bring in the calendar receipt API data, we parse it, and then we put it into DynamoDB, and it sits up here in the console in a viewing station, if you will, in this particular page, and we track the accepts, declines, and tentatives. So that's what's going on there. Now, what I'm going to do here quickly is show you that in Mandy's calendar over here that she used to send the data to the calendar invite server, I'm going to show you one of these live ones here for Thursday. So here's Thursday's game here. You can see that in her calendar client here, she used create@calendarsnack.com. I showed you that that data is in the calendar invite server right here, as indicated right here. So that data is there because Mandy sent it there as the organizer. So what I'm going to do is change this data, and you're going to see what happens here when I grab promotion here for this event. I'm going to go ahead and put this away out of my notepad, and I'm going to insert it, taking on Mandy's persona right here. I'm going to hit save, and what it's going to do is reprocess this data to the calendar invite server APIs. And what you're going to see here in the middle is, and to the right over here, is Greg's going to receive a updated calendar invite right here. So Greg's over here, he just received a updated calendar invite, and he's going to say maybe to the game. So that just came through, and what's going to come through here, well, let me just follow through here. At the bottom, you can see I inserted the update, which is stop by our surprise vendor booth 983 for the NFL game and get a free valued jersey as a VIPer. So that happened in the pipeline, and what happened in the middle here with the calendar invite server, which includes all our tech stack and our APIs, it is updated right there as well. Now I can do another one of these so we can kind of ram home this concept of this organizer's calendar client is talking to the APIs of the calendar invite server. The calendar invite server is serving up data off of this gigantic schedule that Arnie built, and that schedule is right here, which I just walked you through quickly. It was rigged up. I drilled into the NFL game for 49ers versus Rams, and then I clicked it and I got the calendar invite. So let's just go back through it. What the hell, why not? I'll go through here Thursday. I'm going to go back into Thursday's game. You'll see it here in the middle on the calendar invite server itself. The data resides in there. And then because Greg downstream got it off the NFL site, it is now in a state whereby this whole connection layer for the APIs is linear across these three panels. So from the organizer's perspective, this data can be updated here. It's updated in the middle here in the calendar invite server, and the calendar invite server is talking to the APIs of this NFL calendar. Now I'm going to change the booth. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to put from 983 to 1000, hit save, and you're going to see again the linear fashion of this data here off of Mandy's calendar, the organizer, being updated in Mandy's panel here. In the calendar invite server. I'm going to go ahead and refresh it. You're going to see that it's 983. I'm going to refresh it here. And what you're going to see is the data is picked up off the wire. It's now changed to 1000. And more importantly, downstream, because Greg had it on his calendar, he's going to receive an updated one here. He's going to say yes to this one. It was maybe. And you'll see that it was updated there. That's the end of the demo, and thanks for hanging in there with me.